The most powerful man in the ancient world sat alone in a tent on the frozen Danube frontier. Outside, a plague was killing his soldiers. A rebellion was forming in the east. His most trusted general had just betrayed him. Marcus Aurelius opened his journal, not to record the day's events, but to hold himself together. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That was not philosophy for a classroom. That was a man using an idea to survive, and he was not the only one. The men who built, defended, and governed the Roman Empire, the largest and most enduring civilization in Western history, were almost all practicing Stoics. Not because it was fashionable, because without it, the weight of what they carried would have broken them. Stoicism today has been reduced to a self-help trend. Calm down, control your emotions. Read Marcus Aurelius quotes on Instagram. But in Rome, Stoicism was not a lifestyle brand. It was a technology for surviving impossible situations. It was the philosophy that senators carried into civil wars, that generals carried into sieges, and that emperors carried into plagues. The core idea was brutally simple. You cannot control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond. Everything else, wealth, reputation, even your own body, belongs to fortune, and fortune does not care about you. This was not passive acceptance. This was a framework for action under pressure. If you know that everything outside your will is beyond your control, you stop wasting energy on panic and start spending it on the only thing that matters, your next decision. Marcus Aurelius is the name everyone knows, but the Stoic tradition in Roman leadership runs far deeper. Cato the Younger stood against Julius Caesar when every other senator had already surrendered. He walked barefoot through the streets of Rome while his peers rode in carriages, not for attention, but to train himself against the comfort that makes men weak. Caesar reportedly said that Cato was the only man in Rome he genuinely feared, not because of his army, Cato had none, because of his principles. A man who cannot be bought, threatened, or bribed is more dangerous than any legion. Seneca served as advisor to Nero, possibly the most unstable emperor Rome ever produced. Every day, Seneca walked into a room with a man who could have him killed on a whim. He did it for 8 years. His Stoic training was not abstract philosophy. It was the reason he could function at all. When Nero finally ordered his death, Seneca opened his own veins without protest. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind every morning for decades. Epictetus was born a slave. His master broke his leg. According to the accounts, Epictetus simply said, "You will break it." When his leg snapped, he added, "I told you so." He went on to become the most influential Stoic teacher in Roman history. His students included senators, generals, and future emperors. A former slave teaching the ruling class how to think. That is what Stoicism made possible. Rome did not adopt Stoicism by accident. The philosophy solved a specific problem that every empire faces. How do you produce leaders who can handle power without being destroyed by it? Power corrupts. Every civilization knows this. But Rome discovered something others did not. That a philosophical discipline practiced daily could act as a counterweight to the corrupting force of absolute authority. Marcus Aurelius had more power than any human being alive. He could have done anything. Instead, he spent his evenings writing private notes reminding himself that he was mortal, that his anger was a choice, and that the people who annoyed him would be dead within a generation. And so would he. That is not weakness. That is the most sophisticated form of strength Rome ever produced. A man who rules himself before he rules others. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, an unshakable core of rational calm that no external event could penetrate. Build that citadel and you can face anything. Lose it and power will eat you alive. When Rome fell, Stoicism disappeared with it. That is not a coincidence. The philosophy only worked because the men practicing it had something worth protecting. They had a civilization, a republic, an empire, something larger than themselves that demanded their discipline. Without that larger purpose, Stoicism becomes empty self-improvement, breathing exercises and journal prompts. The Stoics did not meditate to feel better, they meditated to govern better, to fight better, to die better. The practice was inseparable from the responsibility. When the responsibility vanished, when Rome collapsed under its own weight, the philosophy lost its anchor. It drifted for 15 centuries until it was rediscovered in modern self-help books, stripped of everything that made it powerful. Stoicism is not about feeling nothing. It is about building an unshakable core so that when everything around you is falling apart, you can still think clearly, act decisively, and carry the weight that has been placed on your shoulders. The men who built the Roman Empire understood this. The question is whether anyone today is willing to take it that seriously.